What's up everyone, Raylo from Raylo Vapes here to do a device review today on another UD product. This is actually one I've been using for at least the last month, non-stop. I have been really enjoying this, and this is the UDT-V22, also known as the Kraken. So it is UD's first, I guess, yeah, it's their first brass 26650 mechanical mod, and this thing is just a thing of beauty and works so well. Let me go ahead and take a vape here real quick and show you what we get. So there you go. As you can see, this is another cloud maker from UD. Works exceptionally well. But before I talk about it anymore, let's go ahead and dive deep down and check this thing out up close. All right, you guys, so sit tight and we'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. Here's the up close with the UDT-V22. There's actually a logo right here, but because I have been using this like crazy, I don't think you'll really be able to see it. Yeah, you can't. The logo, the laser etched logo, is pretty much non-existent now after all the times I've polished it and handled it. But let's go ahead and take this thing apart and show you how it works. So we have a solid, or not solid, but a single 26650 tube. And then right here, sorry, it's a little tarnished, but here's your top cap. It has your airflow slots here. You have your 510 adjustable 510 pin down there in the bottom, and you have these little kind of etchings right here just for decoration. Let's go ahead and take this off, and you can see threads are buttery smooth, as they should be. Then we have this nice beefy, these are silver plated copper pins, very beefy silver plated copper pins, and they have the knurled sides on them, so it makes them easy to grab. Let's go ahead and show you. There's the one piece, there's the other piece, and we have our Delrin insulator right here in the middle. So one thing that UD does that I've noticed to try and combat these from undoing themselves is they put these little silver coated springs in between to kind of hold these two pins in place. They kind of work, they kind of don't, but I'll talk about that in the pros and cons. But yeah, this slides on just like so. That screws in to the top portion here to adjust for your battery rattle, and of course this screws right back in and makes contact with your atomizer. So now let's go ahead and go to the button. So on the button here you can see the UD logo, the UD Technologies, and this is serial number 0007. And we have our locking ring here. And our locking ring is, I believe this is, yes, this is counterclockwise or reverse threaded, so that way you don't have to worry about unscrewing it when you're locking and unlocking. So again, threads really nice here. There's your tube, fairly thin. I believe this is a 28.5 millimeter device, if I'm correct. And then here we have our button. So with our button, let's go ahead and do this real quick to show you how this all works. So when you push your button, you can see the contact just comes over the top of our Delrin insulator right here. Let's go ahead and take this apart and show you how the button works. And again, this is a silver plated copper contact. So again, nice beefy button. Ooh, it's dirty. It's getting all in my hands. So we go, we take this out. You have our inside there. You have your two holes on the side for venting. And we have this nice beefy springy little spring here. This thing works great. Gives you a nice smooth button. Everything works on this really well. I've had no issues with this failing. As you can see, it still looks brand new. And I believe this is also silver plated. You can see down here at the bottom, you got another Delrin insulator, and then you have the brass connector here for your silver plated copper contact. So that slides back in like so. Take the top part, put it back on, slide your contact back in there, and screw that down nice and tight. So there you go. That's your button. And then we'll go ahead and put this back together. Screw your tube back on. Drop the battery in there. And then what I've been doing is, since this does kind of screw back and forth once you start making contact with your battery, I kind of back off the button a little bit, like so. Then I screw my top cap back on all the way till that's nice and tight. And then I screw this on until it makes contact. And now you can see, since I moved that spring, it's actually working. So of course we would adjust here accordingly. All right, there you go. Did that off camera. You don't need to see me keep adjusting this pin to get it. But now, see, no rattle, no battery rattle, and we got a nice, beautiful UDT-V22 all ready to go. So let's go ahead and go back into normal mode, and we'll vape on it, talk about it. Okay, so here we are back in regular mode. Now you got to see it up close. You got to see how the button works. You got to see how the top cap works, how you adjust your pins for battery rattle. So now let's go ahead and talk about some pros and some cons, what I like and what I dislike about the UDT-V22, also known as the Kraken. So pros, I like 26650s. I love a 26650 mod just for the simple fact that you get to use a much more powerful battery. Like right here, I have the MNKEs. It's 3,500 milliamps. Lasts a whole lot longer. I don't have to worry about having to change a bunch of batteries throughout the day, especially with some of these really low, super low resistance builds that I've been doing recently. I love that. The brass looks really sharp. It is a polished brass, which I kind of like polish, but I don't. But, you know, it's patinaed out really nice and kind of almost has this, like, nice matte finish instead of being polished like it was before. But if I polish it up, it'll look like a nice, shiny piece of brass again. It is a fingerprint magnet in that aspect, but once it's patinaed like it has now, it looks beautiful. It looks fine. Having the locking ring, for me, I like locking rings. I have mods that don't have them. It's cool, but I always feel a little bit more secure with that. Nice big button, nice beefy spring in there, but it still gives you a decent throw, and it's not too hard, it's not too soft, so I do like that. That is another pro for me. The voltage drop, fairly low for a 26650 device that's not even in hybrid mode. It was a 0.4 voltage drop, not a 0.04, 0.4 voltage drop on this. One of the hardest firing 26650 devices that I personally own and that I've tried. It hits like a dream. I mean, you've seen it. You get all the clouds that you want with this, and it just kicks like a mule. I do like the little notches that they have on here to help. I love the beefy contacts, the beefy copper plated contacts that are on the top here and on the bottom. I like that. I don't like these little tiny pins that some of these other devices come out with. These are nice, big, hardy contacts. They have the little knurled parts on them, so that way you can easily adjust them. Really like that. Button, very simple, but works really, really well. Let's see, what else is a pro on this? I mean, you do have the airflow slots on this, even though I don't know of any 26650 atomizers that require air through the 510. Yeah, I don't know any. So unless you're using, like, you know, an old tank system that does that. Probably not necessary. So that's, that's up in the air. It could be a pro if that's what you're into, but it's there if you like it. I do like the design, very simple design. And for me, I'm all about that. I don't like too much going on. I don't like my mod to be too busy, and it just feels nice in my giant man hands. So now let's go into cons. What do I not like about the UDT-V22? So the one con that does kind of bother me, but I've learned to deal with it. I've found other ways around it. Let's see if it happens right now. This pin does not hold in when you unscrew, because when it's on here and you start unscrewing it from your top, you start unscrewing your top cap, well, this is pressed up against your battery and it just starts to unscrew with it. So you do need to be careful with that when you are unscrewing it, that this pin, if it's touching here and it's making contact with your button, this will get really hot and you could potentially short out your battery, but it's not going to happen if it's all screwed in. That only happens to me when I'm unscrewing the top cap. So that's why normally now when I change the battery out, I do it from the bottom. And now that I've been doing it from the bottom, I've had no issues. That is a problem, though. That could be a potential issue, but it's not that big of a deal. So as long as you unscrew from the bottom, you don't really have to worry about that pin. But like other devices that have that similar style of pins for the top, you are every once in a while going to have to go in there and adjust that pin to get rid of battery rattle. So just be aware of that. That is really the only con that I've had on this, other than the fact that the laser engraving sort of disappeared. But, that's what happens with laser engravings unless they're super deep. But with brass and copper, when you're doing a lot of polishing, laser engravings are going to fade away over time. But yeah, that's the only con I have on this. Now, another big pro, since I didn't even mention this, and we haven't even talked about it yet, is the price. Now, this isn't widely released yet. It's not the easiest thing to find. I did go online and I did a little bit of researching. I was looking around for it. The only place that I've been able to find it, other than Alibaba and stuff like that, is eBay. eBay, there were two sellers on there. One person was selling it, let's see, on eBay. And I'll post the link to this eBay that I did find, so that way you can go and purchase this, which I really suggest you do, because the price is $55. So for $55, you get a nice, authentic brass 26650 that just hits like crazy. I love this thing. So $55 is what I'm seeing. Potentially when this is more of a wider release and it's being carried more, you'll probably be able to find it a little bit cheaper. But for right now, since it is a hard to come by authentic device, sometimes you got to pay a little bit more. But hopefully, if people are watching this, and especially you wholesalers out there, get on this. This is a really good device. This is going to be really good for people wanting to get into 26650s. It's the right price, and it's a kick-ass mod that works really well. So there's that. So $55, not bad, right? It's right there, kind of like in the low middle range for prices of authentic devices. And let's see, what else do we got here that I could tell you about? So we have the silver-plated copper pins. Height is 106.5 millimeters. Diameter is 29.5. Sorry, I did say 28.5. It's 29.5 millimeters. You do use 26650 batteries, so if you are going to buy this, make sure you have some 26650s. It can take a build down to 0.09, which is actually exactly what I have in here right now. But don't build that low unless you know what you're doing, please. All right? So there you go. That's pretty much everything I have to say about this. You got to see the button. You got to see the internals. You got to see how all this works. You heard about it. You got to see it in action. Got to know the price, pros and the cons. Everything's right there. Let's go ahead and take one more vape on this, and then we'll sign off. All right, you guys. I'm Raylo from Raylo Vapes. And as always, vape on.